It's the 28th of September, which means it's only one thing. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Sir Calvin Andrew Day. All those years ago, Calvin Andrew scored that goal away at Chesterfield. Sorry for swearing. But this week, at One Call Stadium, more heroes have been made. Christy Pym has done it again. The Stags have persisted and won on penalties, beating Peterborough to set up a possible quarter-final in the Cup. If they can beat Port Vale. There's too many P's on offer, so what does P stand for? Is it penalties? Is it Pym? Is it practice makes perfect? Or is it quite simply podcast? This is the show for the fans, by the fans. Let's recap another phenomenal week. Another P for Mansfield Town. Get involved in the comments now and have your say on your team. On the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Let's celebrate. Hello, good evening and welcome to the Mansfield Matters Podcast. It's the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Well, what a week it has been. A precise win against Barrow, a patient win against Barrow, and then the drama of the Cup in midweek. It does not get any better, does it? Yes, it does, because we are joined by an array of Mansfield Town supporters to recap what has been a phenomenal week following Mansfield Town. So let's say hello and good evening to some of them. And first of all, let's go to the phone lines and say hello, good evening to our good friend, Mr. Jim Evans. Good evening, Jim, on the phone. How are you?
Good evening, Craig. I'm very well, thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Jolly good. Good to hear from you again. Let's cross over to somewhere in Rawmarsh and say hello to Mr. Cam Felton.
Good evening.
And let's go to the man who is going to open his own museum one day. It's Nick of Mansfield Town Shirts fame.
How are we doing, everybody? You all right?
Very, very good. Well, what a week it has been. Cam, I'm going to start with you. Let's work our way backwards. Let's start with the cup draw from last night, shall we? First ball out for once, so you're thinking, yes, here we go. We can get absolutely anyone. And then what happens? We get Port Vale.
I know what P stands for. PTSD. That's what I've got from playing Port Vale still. No. A weird one. I'm not sure what to make of it. It's obviously frustrating that we could have drawn literally anybody, and we go and draw Port Vale. So it is frustrating. We could have had United away, Newcastle away, Liverpool away, Chelsea away. But I suppose if you look at it on the other way, it's a home game, big bonus, and it's a game that we're capable of winning.
It is a...
So would you take the money spinner now and get knocked out, or would you take an easier tie and potentially get a first quarter final in nearly 50 years?
It's certainly to be discussed. Nick, what were your thoughts when you saw Port Vale drawn out of the hastily moved hat?
First of all, I just turned it straight off. I still don't know the other ties. I've absolutely no idea. I just turned it off. I thought of all the crap teams to pull out, it was literally Exeter, Middlesbrough, and Port Vale were the three teams I said, let's just avoid them. When you looked at the list, it was quite a ridiculous list of pretty much exclusively Premier League sides with the odd Championship team thrown in there. And then it come up with Port Vale. Like, God, of all the people, even got work colleagues who support Port Vale. And then the more I've thought about it, and the more I've seen other Stags fans comment, and I think the majority are probably right, it's not a bad draw, is it, to be potentially in the quarter final? And I think we are the favourites. I've seen a few people predictions in terms of neutrals, and a lot have said we're the favourites for the game. So to be a favourite for the last 16 in the Carabao Cup as a Stags fan is pretty insane. But like you say, like Cam said, I don't know what's best. Sometimes are you better off as away at United and get beat 7-0, or are you better off slugging it out with Port Vale? I don't know. But they haven't got Mal Benin, so that's a bonus. And they haven't got Clarkey, so that's another bonus. So who knows? I mean, in terms of progression, it's the best draw we could have got.
Yeah,
quite clearly.
Half of Port Vale's promotion winning side play on Saturday for Barrow, though.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
One thing I find interesting, you said that you didn't see the rest of the draw. It could be worse. We could be a Middlesbrough fan having to go to Exeter. That was the last.
Yeah, I think that's bad for both of them, isn't it? Like even Exeter surely don't want Middlesbrough at home, do you? Even that's just dull.
I think when I've looked on Twitter, they're quite looking forward to it because they see it as game to win, because they see it as they're top of League One, or was top of League One. Middlesbrough are fighting for their lives in the
Can I stop you there? Yeah, when did this become Exeter Matters?
Oh, I'm just saying they're quite happy with it because they're thinking, right, they're going to have the exact same thing, thinking, all right, it's a team from above, but it's a game that they can win, and either way, it's still been a crap draw for us.
Great, yeah, carry on. Right, Jim, bring us back to Mansfield, please.
Well, what did I think when I saw the draw? I shouted at the telly when I saw the draw. I couldn't believe it. My stomach turned, to be quite honest with you. I just thought about Wembley, and I'm still not over that. But the next time I wanted to see Port Vale was either in League One or when they came back down to League Two while we were going back up to League One. But not to be. But it soon turned into, like Nick said, really. I thought, well, do you know what? Out of all the draws, we're at home, and it's probably our best possible tie to get through to a major quarter-final. And that started to excite me, actually. I think it is a good draw in that respect.
I think it's a fantastic draw in that respect. I think Cam touched upon it earlier on, which is, do you want a big money spinner? Which we would have taken, of course we would have taken, but now you look at this and you think not only have we got a chance to, get a little bit of revenge and sort of put that little bugbear to bed, Nick, but also what we've got a realistic chance to do is get in a full house, because I think we'll be close to filling One Call Stadium that night, and getting to the quarter-final of a major competition. Lowly Mansfield, the last remaining League Two side, could be in a quarter-final.
I don't even think I've managed it on Football Manager, to be honest, let alone real life. Even in FIFA, I think I get beaten. It's just, to be fair, when you saw the numbers and the names in the hat and you see Mansfield up there, and I think the funniest thing I've noticed is there's a lot of people on Twitter talking about this unbeaten run and a lot of other teams talking about the draw. I'm not sure half of Twitter and Premier League fandom know what a Mansfield is. And no one seems to know who or where Mansfield is, which is brilliant because we're in the same breath as Arsenal and Chelsea. And, we've got further than Man City. When was the last time we got further than Man City in a competition since we knocked them out of the LDV vans or whatever it was in 97? It's quite surreal, I think, to see us amongst those sort of names. And, if we get to the quarterfinal, then, 3 games away from trips to Kazakhstan, aren't we? So that would be an away day for the Stags, wouldn't it? That would.
Mansfield Matters goes international.
Absolutely.
Keep your comments coming in and have your say on your team. As Simon says in the comments, what a time to be a Stags fan. Paul says, I think our best draw for the next round. Mitchell says, absolutely, we can win this game. Stags chat, hi all, what a season we're having. Not felt this excited in years, overcoming higher division teams and third in the league. I think that's the thing, isn't it, Cam, as well? We scrappy in games, but we determined, we're persistent. And do you know what? As soon as Akins put that penalty in the back of the net, with minutes to go, and you knew it was going to a penalty shootout, I actually felt that there was only one winner. And for a club like ours, who went 10 years without winning a penalty shootout, to now win 3 on the bounce, our backers. And again, you've got to take your hat off and applaud Christy Pym and Adam Collin and the goalkeeping team there for doing that research and getting it right, because persistence and practice and preparation pay off. Too many P's.
It's brilliant, and credit to Adam Collin and Christy Pym and someone that's forgotten quite a lot, Scott Flinders. Obviously, all working as a team and working on tactics. And Adam Collin tweeting after the game the bit of paper that they've got with all where the players go and the levels of research that go into these games and the mentality. And like you said, Craig, as soon as Akins puts that away and you know it's going to penalty, we'd already got the momentum 25 minutes before from the end.
Yeah.
So their heads were dropping, and then for their heads to drop completely, Johnson Clark-Harris, that penalty in the last minute, that is genuinely one of the worst things you could do. You think he's supposed to be one of the better strikers, not even at the lower levels, but in the upper reaches, and he goes and does that. And it was never in doubt that Akins would miss. And he's just a man for the moment. And just to give us that bit more of a momentum and a bit more of a push going into penalties. Like you said, there was one winner, but credit to Pym and Flinders and Colin. Fantastic.
Was there ever in your mind, Jim, when you knew it was going to spot kicks, or did you were you watching on knowing that Mansfield were about to book their place in the next round?
Our tails were up, weren't they? When we got that equaliser, which was coming, I might add. I think it was. We had the momentum, and they sort of totally disappear. And like they did against Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough, and they seem to have form for doing this, Peterborough. I just think their heads are gone. And I was quite confident, and I was delighted for Pym because all the hassle he took for the whole game. Brilliant. I bet he didn't get to sleep on Tuesday night.
I bet he's still thinking about it now. Nick, did you see the antics at the end? Have you seen the video that's doing the round of Pym's celebration to the away dugout?
Yeah, I was fortunate. I mean, I'm a Quarry Lane man or a North Stand man, one of the end. I'm always behind a goal somewhere. But my dad, obviously, we had got tickets where we could get them. We were in the last block of the lower tier near the away fans, so we saw literally all of it. But I think the second that the penalties were at their end, I felt like we were going to win. I just felt that Pym was just going to do something ridiculous. They, to be fair, some of the songs were out of order. I'm all for the football banter, but there was one specifically that was just, it's not a football song. It's just, it's ridiculous. But I just thought the more they egged him on, the better he was going to perform. And as soon as it went down there, it was great. And I think the best moment is the Clark-Harris one where he walked around the back of the goal on purpose. Like he walked around like Tyson Fury walks into the ring. He just strolled around there with his arms swinging. I thought it was brilliant. And from that moment on, you just thought, I think when they saw that Clark-Harris had missed and that we'd scored, I think from then on it was, I mean, we made it as difficult as we possibly could, being Stags missing 2 in a row, but I don't think it was in doubt. As soon as you saved that Clark-Harris one, I think that was it.
I think the only one for me I knew was going to miss was Ollie Clark. When he walked up, he just did not look confident.
No, he didn't look confident at all. I said to my dad, I said he's missing.
Yeah.
But the other penalties were their goalie should probably have saved our first 2. They went under him, didn't they?
You've got to give Clough a lot of credit because a lot of the times we don't practice penalties, we wing it. But every single cup game we go into, and it'd be the same for the Papa Johns. We practice, and again, it's those fine margins which see you through. I do have one question I'm going to put to you, Nick, because obviously you said you're a Quarry Laner. Wasn't open on Tuesday night. Port Vale in the next round. It's another League One side, similar to Peterborough. Will the powers that be at the One Call Stadium think, well, it's only Port Vale, it's a cup tie, we're not going to get that many in. Let's cut the costs on stewarding and food and all of that and the police costs and just open the West Stand again? Or this time, do you gamble? Because I think we'll be close to a sellout.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to open it. I think they'll sell out or at least try to. I think the problem with what they tried to do this time was they obviously said, well, let's just keep the West Stand and no season ticket holders get a ticket. But if we'd have actually sold that out, they would have then had to open the Quarry Lane and there'd have been a bit of a debacle. So I think they just need to go for it. If it was a league game, they'd both be open, wouldn't they? They wouldn't say, oh, there's not going to be enough tickets. Well, you know what I mean? So I can't see the levels of excitement at the minute, especially if we have a few good games in between then. I can't see us not being close to a sellout.
Yeah.
For the sake of a few stewards and a few sausage rolls, I think it's worth it.
I'm going Talk about sausage rolls. You know what me? I am often a critique of the sausage rolls at One Call Stadium. The ones on Tuesday night, unfucking believable.
I did have one. It was all right, weren't they? They were
Yeah.
all right.
They were like one of the best ones we've had for a while. More sausage roll chat next time. Carry on, Cam.
I think, to be honest, because of who it is, I think it'll be open because I think the powers that be above us also secretly hold vendettas against people, clearly doing things. And I think just the town of Mansfield has something against Port Vale because of the playoff final. So I know, I get the same feeling. I think just what happened on that day. I think whilst there's not that many players still here from that team. Not a single player that played in that game, other than Marison Clark.
Yeah.
That it. Everybody else is either left or injured.
Yeah.
So,
Isn't it?
I think there'll be a lot of pent-up anger on that night.
There's a lot of time between now and then, and now we're going to switch it back and go backwards to Barrow, Jim. Obviously, we had the pleasure of sitting next to each other for the Barrow game, and what we saw was a under par Mansfield at times, a patient one, but also you have to also take your hat off to the opposition because they came and played a very, very good defensive game. We were so lucky to come out of that with 3 points, and I really did feel for them in the end.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I could see them getting in the playoffs, Barrow. I think they're much improved. But I think, like Clough said afterwards, I think we're going to get that a lot this season. You know, it's a backhanded compliment, and it's a mark of respect that teams are going to do that and come with a low block and stop us and just counter-attack us. But I think, you know, we've got to try and be one step ahead of this and try and find a way to beat teams who are going to come and do that. And I think we are going to find it easier playing our natural game to win away this season, you know, in general. And I think we're going to have to be one step ahead of the game with this. And I was thinking about it today. I wonder if it will shape his January transfer plans to try and bring in somebody who's a bit different to what we've already got to try and unlock doors at home. Whether it be like someone who's aerially dominant in the box, like Hawkins, like we were saying Tuesday, Craig. I think the squad has moved past Hawkins. I really do. And I don't think he gets in our first 11 now. I don't think he would. But at home, I think up front, you know, you could have 10 centre-halves playing. He's still winning that ball coming in the box. I wonder if he's going to go, you know, that'll shape his January plans for something a bit different.
I think we all know, don't we, Nick, that that January plan would be, I'll bring in another centre-half and we'll put Aidan Flint up front. That's the go-to, isn't it, lately?
Oh, sorry. Provided he was played for Burton, that's the crux of it. So if he hasn't played for Burton, then there's no chance. Or maybe he may have walked past Bramall Lane. Sometimes that gets them in the window, doesn't it?
Yeah, he played this season with Derby on Football Manager.
Yeah, he's walked past Pride Park maybe. But no, I think we just look solid, don't we? But like everyone's saying, that everyone does now come to the middle. Even Bradford, I think that was the biggest compliment, that Bradford came and just wanted a 0-0. That's all they came for, and they got what they came for. But I think that is a big compliment to us this season, that teams look a bit wary against us at home, and we do need to look at something different. But yeah, we're playing really well, aren't we? It's the most confident I've felt since we last played Port Vale.
Yeah,
I think the crest of a wave we were all on at that point is a similar feeling to how I feel now. Hopefully, that's not ended by Port Vale as well.
Well, only last time when we were due to play Port Vale, I knew and said it quite openly that we would not win that game, and we didn't. But this time, I do feel that there is something else in the air. Let's go back to Barrow, Cam, and just talk about that for a minute, because whilst teams will come here to set up shop and to really, really be tight and, you know, put 5 defenders across the back and shut the midfield off, what you have to do is not get frustrated, not get wound up, and have faith that you are going to find a way through. And ultimately, we did. It was Ollie Clark probably knew it was going to go off. Maybe he hit it with a little bit of extra venom to say, "Well, I'm going to go out with a bang." But what a bang it was!
He was literally about to come off because George Maris sat straight back down after he scored. So you knew it was going to be Clark. And Me and my dad, we sit together now, and we were saying like, we needed a bit of creative spark in that midfield because it's not that it wasn't there, but it wasn't creating anything, and obviously Reid was trying to run the show, but Reid and Maris together, one of the best pairings. It's just like two of the best players I think I've ever seen them pull on a Mansfield shirt, as in raw talent and ability. And watching them play football, it's fantastic. But like we said, we've got to have something a little bit different. Going back to your point about sort of like if we brought somebody in, do you think it's a case of we've got to see where we are when we get players back fit, i.e. Quinn, Oates and McLaughlin will be back before January? Is it a case of we've got to take stock, see where we are then? Because where we were looking weak on Saturday, personally, is every time that we got the ball down the side, you've got Jordan Barrow who was happy making a driving run, but it felt McDonald was a bit hesitant and always looked to cut back and play it back into the middle, which then we ended up losing it because they were crowding out the midfield. And it was just so frustrating. And it's not a massive negative against McDonald because he's not the same player as McLaughlin, but is it a case of we're trying to play this system that's not the same on both sides? Like, it's not quite as fluid as what we want it to be.
This is a controversial comment perspective on its way. Controversial comment perspective on its way. I think we've got this is now the time, if ever there was a time, to move on from Stephen Quinn and Stephen McLaughlin. This is it, because we've played so well without them. And all right, we've missed Quinn's drive and anger and Quinn's Quinness at times, but I don't think we've missed it as much as what we think we've missed it. And I think this is actually the prime time. Me personally, he's not going to come back the same player, and I don't think Stephen McLaughlin is. And if we push them back in, I think we're taking a step back. They're now, for me, players who can come in and fill a job rather than be regular starting players. Jim, what do you make of my second week in a row bold statement, controversial comments?
No, I think you're right. I think it's a bit like giving up smoking for a month and, stick at it. Don't go back to it. I think, the longer we go without him, I think the more you got a better chance of moving on. Do you know what I mean? If you bring him back in, I think the temptation is to get out. I think, I think you're right. Football moves on quickly. And their age they're at. McLaughlin got 3 games together. And Quinn is getting his legs are going now. So, yes, I think we move on.
Nick, what about you? What's your take on my controversial comments?
I think the parish and the priest are going to agree on this one. I think I agree. I don't think McDonald will put on a Stag shirt again. McLaughlin, sorry. I don't think McLaughlin will. I think we'll move on. Quinn, Clough does like Quinn. He may make a handful, but I think his time as a regular starter in that midfield 3 are pretty numbered, I think. I think we missed him a lot more last season than the season before when he was out rather than this year. I think you're right. But I think Reid, Maris and insert third midfielder without Quinn is a better midfielder than with Quinn now, because I think he gives you an extra 2 points, but you may lose an extra 3 in terms of because he just upsets the balance of everyone else. He does great things on his own, which is brilliant, but you do sort of lose the balance. So, yeah, I do agree. I agree with that. I don't think either of them will play a main part now moving forward.
Keep your comments coming in. Plenty of you having your say on it in the comments in the live feed. Simon says, on the McDonald point, McDonald has been good, solid, and won the penalty on Tuesday. I did think he made a huge difference on Tuesday night. Actually, I have to agree with that. Paul says, I think you're wrong. Quinn and Macca, best pair on the left-hand side, know each other so well. And yeah, I completely get that. And I'm not disputing that for a second. But what I am saying is that they were the best pairing on the left-hand side 2 seasons ago, We didn't see it enough last season because one or the other was injured, and then we played, for the large part, a completely different system which didn't get the best out of them. They're 2 years on, and we've got better players for the side we are now, which is why I don't see them in there. Michael says Quinn makes things tick. We've lost our creativity on the left, and yeah, maybe he is that third midfielder, Cam. But I just don't see him playing as regularly as he has done, and I think that, especially the McLaughlin thing as well, I just don't see that going. But like Nick said, you've got Reed, Maris, insert third midfielder other than Hiram Boateng in that place, and I think you've just got a really good competitive midfield. Anyone can sort of drop in there, and sometimes you've got to move into the future. You said it yourself, actually, didn't you, Cam? You were looking through your team sheet and you were thinking, how many names are still here from that playoff final? Not many. Sometimes progression is good. Another P.
I think personally, I think you're right on the Quinn thing. I feel like if there's ever a time that we were always at the start of this end of last season, start of this season, saying like we need Quinn, on the basis of we just needed that stability and that experience in the midfield. But I still feel like McLaughlin can still bring something to this team on the basis of how does he come back from injury? And we've said it before when he's been rushed back, that he was rushed back and he wasn't given that chance. So we don't know what he's going to play like. I think it's on Quinn. I think it probably will be his last season on the basis of he's had an injury. He's going to be out for a while. By the time he comes back, the team have clearly gelled already, but last thing that you want Clough to do is bring him back in and completely upset the chemistry of the team, because obviously Maris and Reed have got such a good working partnership, but I just feel like we're just lacking on that left-hand side, and I feel like that attacking intent that we've got in every other position on the field, even the centre-backs, I just feel like we've not got in McLaughlin, and I also feel like in McDonald, and I also feel like McDonald's a bit of a liability, if I'm honest, because of just the way that he just can't tackle to save his life. It's either the world's best tackle, or he just kills a man.
Sorry, Harry gave me his ball. So I wasn't paying attention to what you were saying. So I'll move on to some of the comments. Keep them coming in. I know. Simon says, evening, boys. Quinn is okay if we play Saturday and then don't have a midweek game due to his age. He hasn't got the legs anymore. We need to find a younger version of him for his drive and motivation. Russ says, good point, a place needs to be won. Paul, I agree, but wait and see. George says, believe Quinn battles for space in the midfield to allow space in front to develop, and that brings in McLaughlin. It's not the stability he brings, says Michael, it's his creativity. There's no outlet on the left at the minute with no natural left winger. Plenty of comments coming in on that. Final one on McLaughlin, Nick. Where do you think he ranks in terms of the pecking order now to play out and out left back? Because for me, I think he comes in probably third. I think it's clear. Obviously, McDonald's there at the minute. Bailey Cargill's his second choice, although I don't think he had a great game there. Obviously, not an out and out left back anyway on Tuesday, and then probably McLaughlin in third. What's your thoughts on it, or does McLaughlin push his way back in? Because I don't think you can shift Lewis Brunt from centre back at the minute.
I think that's the problem. Is it depends how Bailey Cargill reacts to not playing. Obviously, some players are happy to not play. Some are absolutely adamant that I need to play. If Cargill is one of those who needs to play a lot, and Brunt and Flint are fit, then I think Cargill stays above McLaughlin. Not in terms of is he a better left back, but I'm just thinking in terms of Clough's thoughts. For me, if he's fully fit and firing, he's probably better than McDonald because he offers you a lot more going forward. And I feel like Flint and Brunt are competent enough to lose a fullback up the wing. You know, Jordan Barrow just runs off sometimes, and there's a ball again. He runs off, quite a bit. Disappears. I think in Clough's thinking, I think unless he's absolutely firing, he'll be third choice. If he's fit and up for it. I think he could be second choice and then work his way back in, but I don't think he will. I think he'll stay as third choice. I did just want to mention, because we hadn't quite touched on it, that I think the biggest difference maker on Tuesday night was Ollie Clark.
Yeah.
Haven't seen him mentioned massively. Without him coming on, we would have lost 2-3, 4-1. We were not at it at all. With two up top, I think we were at it. Clough then moved Gale out wide from being up front, and then we lost all sense of how to move forward. And I think when Clark came on, he made one strong tackle, and the crowd just like woke up.
Yeah.
And I think he massively changed the game. And although McDonald, you're right, Cam, does fly around like a hand grenade in a nursery, but he made a tackle with him and Clark coming on at the same time, flying into tackles and winning the ball back. It was like we'd let two Jack Russells on the pitch, and it seemed to just spark everyone else. And it helped that we brought off a couple of players in. Was it Maris? Reed. Was it? Yeah, it was Maris who came off, wasn't it? And then Cargill, who were having a shocker, and it helped. But it just transformed the team. I thought it was worth making a note of Mr. Clark.
Yeah,
because I thought he had a really good game.
I'm going to jump on the James Gale thing a little bit as well, because there's been a question of who starts up top with Akins at the weekend. I'll come on to that later on, but James Gale, like you said, we did lose a lot of our press when he went to the left wing, but I also thought he was superb defensively, having to cover for Bailey Cargill, who, again, Clough said it in his post-match, he's not a natural left-back, and he'll just slot in there, and clearly was slotted in there to get some game time, because you cannot disrupt Brunt and Flint at the minute. They are the most solid pair of centre-backs I think we've seen for a long time at One Call Stadium wearing Mansfield shirts. So I don't think you can disrupt that too much. But he was playing so high at one point, I thought he was trying to play in the West Stand upper, because he just left so much space. But James Gale did superbly well to cover, and I was really impressed with him on Tuesday night. So I just wanted to give him a little mention as well. Jim, let's stay with Tuesday night and talk about people who we'd not seen a lot, because obviously the Cup is a good opportunity for players to get some minutes, and one of those players was George Williams, who played at right back, and like Bailey Cargill, didn't have the easiest of times, did he?
He didn't, but I think we've got to remember, like Cargill and Williams, they've not played a lot of football recently. And then coming in against a team from a higher division who were doing all right, I think it was always going to be a bit tough. We weren't going to see the best of them. So I've sort of reserved judgment on those two a little bit. I mean, to be fair to Cargill, I think against Colchester and Barrow when he came on, he looked really good. But back to that left-hand side, if I may, people saying, what can we do about, a bit of fluency back down the left-hand side? I think we need, when McLaughlin came to us, his trade position is a left midfield. So is there anything stopping us playing McDonald and then considering McLaughlin when he's fit as a left side midfield option?
You mean almost as the Stephen Quinn, the second coming?
Yeah. I mean that's his position by trade, as a left winger. So and then we know he's not. We know he's going to miss half the season, but he's just an option there down the left-hand side. He could perhaps job share with Quinn, I don't know. But, I'm sure he could do that again.
Well, maybe. Time will tell. We've got a long way of the season to go, and I think that's a big factor at the minute as well, is the fact that we were only so far into this campaign. Staying with Tuesday for a minute, Cam, and George Williams, what was your thoughts on his performance? Because interesting comment from Michael in the live feed. Barrow going to right back was also a huge factor. He marked Clark Harris out of the game, and I think he did shore us up when he dropped back into right back after his brief foray back into his old natural habitat of up front for all of 2 minutes. When he went back there, Barrow was class. And from what I've seen of George Williams so far, I don't rate him as a fullback. I know we were playing Peterborough, who've got far pacier players. I know they're a league above. They're pushing, in the playoffs, and they've got some really fast, creative players. But whenever I've seen him there in other games as well, I've not been overly impressed with him. And if I'm going to be honest, in terms of the order of people playing at right back, he's probably third choice for me, with Bowery first, Callum Johnson second, him in third. And even then, like we were saying earlier, Cam, about Cargill wanting game time, is George Williams, given his promotions and his footballing CV, going to be similar? Is he going to be happy playing third choice?
It's a difficult one, because I wouldn't I wouldn't say that Williams has done anything particularly wrong, same as I don't think Cargill's done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But in trying to fit the style of football that we've been playing, do they fit? It's a tough one because they both... Obviously, Cargill came in with a recent promotion, really highly rated at this level, and very happy that we've got defensive cover in the centre back positions. Williams is a weird one because he's a good player. I can see why Clough wanted him, but I also don't understand why Clough wanted him. Like, as in, we've got several options that could play right back. And one of those you have not even mentioned in Lucas Akins. Nobody wants Lucas Akins to play right back, but there's still the option that he can. So it just doesn't make sense, other than, is it because he knows that sometimes we'll have to play Barrow up front because we might be short of options, and that Johnson isn't always fit, as he brought him in just as injury cover?
Interesting on the Barry one. He will never play Barry up front when we need him. He'll front up because it works. It works better.
Yeah, it works now. But previously, we didn't have Flint, and we didn't have Flint until 2 days before the season started.
And what a best guys that turned out to be. Nick, briefly, your thoughts on George Williams and the right back situation, and maybe a little bit on Boateng as well, looking at Ross's comment.
I thought Williams played really well when he came on Accrington as a holding midfield player. I thought he got stuck in. His pace wasn't exposed. He had time on the ball. He looked calm. He looked composed. I think Cam's right in terms of, I think he's injury cover. I think Clough's realised that if you're going to be short anywhere, it can't be at the back. Even if you run on nothing up front, let's have extra defenders rather than extra strikers. Historically, Clough's had loads of strikers and no one to play in defence. So this year, he seems to have gone all out for, extra defenders. I mean, the Flint was a surprise. We thought we'd kind of got, and then Brunt came. Then a week before the season, we had no Brunt, we had no Flint, and we had no Williams. So he seems to have gone massively on defensive cover. I think part of that is because in the back of his mind, he likes 5 at the back, and he thinks that's a possibility at some point.
Never,
which not on my watch. I'll run on the pitch if I have to.
Yeah, me too, mate.
So, I think he looked good in midfield, but I don't think he's at the minute good enough to start. In terms of right back, I think someone's going to have to tear that shirt off Barry's back to get him out of there, because he's been playing brilliant.
He has.
He tracks back, and he seems to have got quicker than he ever was as a striker. Don't know how that works, but he's got pace. He's strong, good in the air. He's got all the attributes I think we need, but I don't think William will be a long-term option at right back. I think we'll see him elsewhere, if at all, if I'm honest.
Still plenty to talk about on tonight's Mansfield Matters podcast. Keep your comments coming in. Anything Mansfield Town related. It can be about sausage rolls. It can be about pies. It can be about stands. It can be about absolutely anything, as long as it's all about Mansfield Town. Still to come, we'll answer that striker question about who starts up front on Saturday. We'll look ahead to the game and the trip to Gillingham, and I'll answer the question which someone put at the very start of the show. Is my bold statement from last week still standing? All of that to come here on the Mansfield Matters podcast. It's the show for the fans, by the fans, and we're proud to be part of the talkSPORT fan network. Welcome back to the Mansfield Matters podcast, the show by the fans here on Mansfield Matters. Thanks so much, as ever, for joining us. Keep your comments, questions and opinions coming in on the live feed. Right, let's address the striker question. It was a comment earlier on from, where is it? I've lost it. I think it was Thomas who put it in the comments about who starts up front on Saturday alongside Lucas Akins. Jim, I'll come to you first. The options, clearly, Will Swan or James Gale.
Well, as I say, I think it's going to be, we're going to be more counter-attack, I think, away from home, because the onus is going to be on Gillingham to come at us. It is. So I think there's going to be more opportunities, a bit more space for us to play our game. I'd go for legs. I'd actually go with Swan, actually. I know it might not be a popular choice, but I'll go with what pace we've got. He's just scored a goal. You could tell he looked more, his confidence was lifted as soon as he had. I think I'll go DKD and Swan off Akins, I think, on Saturday.
Cam, what are you saying? Who you going to look for?
Swan. I feel like he's got a point to prove, and I'm hoping that he's got that hunger that he needs. He's hopefully kickstarted his season with his goal on Tuesday night, and I just like Ross in the comments saying Swan's a really good player, but personally I don't think he gets the service. Would you say we've been potentially a bit guilty in the last 2 games of not being at it? And I think Clough said on Tuesday it wasn't the best performance, and obviously on last Saturday before against Colchester, it wasn't another good performance again, but we're grinding out results, which is important. But if we're not providing a service to our strikers, then are they going to be able to score? No. Can't win on this one, I don't think, to be honest.
Comment says, Jim, you have to play Swan. He needs goals, and the only way to get them is by playing. He got one on Tuesday, Nick, and like we've been saying for a while, it's just that the monkey off his back, isn't it? Getting that first goal is going to give him a bit of a confidence lift. I think there's probably something in that alternating. Gale starts at home where we press, and Swan starts away where we need a little bit of flair.
Yeah, I think the difference between the two, for me, is that Swan needs the team to be ticking for him to play well, whereas Gale will work off absolute scraps and he'll work with nothing. Whereas Swan, I think, needs the team to be giving him some sort of decent service through balls over the top, whereas Gale will just run into corners and he'll run and jump and tackle. And Swan, for me, at the minute, just gives up a little bit too easy. My head would go with Swan, because I think Gale and Akins are very similar. I think Gale and Akins both aren't natural 20-goal-a-season goal scorers. I think Gale could be in time, but I don't think they are. They're both workhorses who works with somebody else. So I think you probably have to go with Swan, but he's a bit of a... You need the service. He's not going to carry the team to victory, but he might score you some goals if you give him some good passes. Whereas I think Gale drags the team up a little bit. So, but I think he'll go with Swan personally, but it depends. Like, I think it was Cam who said it depends how we're going to play, because if we're just going to hit and hope, Swan is not the man to be running up and down the pitch all game, because he'll just give up.
And the caveat, the other option there as well, Jim, is what we saw on Tuesday night, and that is a pairing of Swan and Gale. All right, for a large majority of the game, Gale ended up playing sort of left wing as we tried to sort of go 4-1-4-1 and sort of do a little bit of firefighting and damage limitation. He ended up being a bit more defensive, but we did see glimpses of what they could bring together, and it's an option, isn't it? We don't need to play Akins every single week. We can bring him off the bench and be a bit of a threat, and that's the glory that we've got at the minute. We can mix it up.
Yeah, and I think when we're going away to second in the league on Saturday. So I mean, he might go with Akins and Gale, because you've got a bit more pressing presence off the ball. We're going to have to everyone's going to have to muck in on Saturday if we're going to keep a clean sheet. So we might go that way. But I've always thought a Clough team, even though we've looked solid at the moment at the back, he's about attack. I think Clough, and I do think we're the best form of defence is attack, especially with us. I still don't think we're capable of parking any buses. And I would go for it. They've got to come out. Give us space. I would say let's have a go at them. I think that's when we look at our best.
Absolutely. Well, let's have a quick look at some comments before we move on to podcast predictions. Simon says, the good thing at the minute is that we may not play well, but we're grinding out results even when we are losing in the last few minutes. There's this feeling we'd snatch an equaliser, where in the past we'd know that's it. It's a good thing that we are digging in and having this never say die attitude. Russ says Swan will come good but needs the service. Ross seems to be trying to fight the ball through, where I think the likes of Swan and Akins and Oates and DKD need a fast overthrough ball. Thomas says, I personally think he will start with Gale, as the Gills are a big team and he's handy at the set pieces defensively. Similar to Accrington, then Swan can come on and make an impact. Absolutely that. And I think there's probably a point in that, Nick, very briefly, about, going back to the Accrington game. Gale was superb in that, and helped us to victory, really having a hand in all of those 3 goals. And then, you've still got Swan to bring on, and if you're Accrington and you're in a hot day or whoever, and you're thinking, I don't fancy that.
I don't think they wanted to play against Gale at all. I think Akins was a good folly for him, distracting a lot of defenders. And I think because we got a bit of a good view down the middle of it, you could see that Akins was distracting players and Gale was getting in behind, and then vice versa. So they did work really well at Accrington. I suppose you've got to think, it depends on their type of defenders or who they've got. I'd much rather probably Swan against Hawkins and the ball's in behind, but obviously I know he's not playing, but it depends what sort of defence they've got. But Gale, for me, is an unpredictable asset. I don't think he knows what he's going to do. We don't know what he's going to do, but he's going to give you everything he's got. And I think that's why, and he's obviously a young lad from around here, which helps. But if he plays like he did at Accrington, if he starts on Saturday, then you can't ask for any more than that performance from a young lad, how he played at Accrington. He was everywhere. Yeah, and he was a real threat to them.
You've got to give him a bit of time as well and a bit of grace. He's not going to be consistent every single week. He's still a young player finding his feet. He's had a massive jump up. He's done a lot of work over the summer and things like that as well. Also, Nick, you just made a very, very basic mistake there talking about Swan. You said Swan up against Hawkins. You're in the Nigel Clough mode of thinking there, aren't you?
Oh yeah, thinking that they play him at the back.
Yeah, they very much play him up front.
I forgot he was a striker.
Absolutely. Final question before we move on to podcast predictions. Paul says, an even more pressing question. What flavour rock would you like me to bring from Skeg? I'm more of a humbug man, but I'll take some aniseed. Cam, go.
Anything.
Nick?
Generic, multicoloured, non-humbug rock.
Non-humbug rock?
Yeah, not that. No, I don't like any of that stuff.
Jim, what are you saying?
Toffee, please.
Toffee. Well, there you go. Mixture of tastes and everything here.
Oh, he said sausage. Like I said, that's a different rock. I've not had that one.
Very different rock.
I've not had that one.
Indeed. Speaking of which, sausages are in the oven cooking for me tea, so we need to crack on. Right, podcast predictions. Hit the jingle. So will they win, lose or draw? And what will be the score? It's the guessing game that brings you zero fame, but to be the best you must outguess the rest. So will they win, lose or draw? And what will be the score? In the League or Cup, you just make it up, because they're just works of fiction. It's podcast predictions. Will they win, lose or draw? And before we dive into the Gillingham, we obviously need to do one thing. It's the end of the month-ish. It's the last Thursday of the month, which means it's time to reveal the all-important table. So we're going to start off with some honourable mentions in just a minute. But first, we're going to go with the top 10, just to sort of see who's in there. Shall we start first with the Mansfield Matters League? I think we probably should, shouldn't we? Well, I can tell you that in last place in the Mansfield Matters League, he's having an absolute shocker. It's Mr. Nathan Edge. He's nowhere near it. He's only got 12 points. Just above Nathan, you've got me on 18. Cam and Nick, you're both slogging it out together on 20 points apiece. Alan just in front of you on 22. And Clive leading the way at the top of the Mansfield Matters pack on 25. In terms of elsewhere, going to give you a name. Going to give you a name check here for your points. Lots of them to get through. Only going to give you a name check if you've scored a point. Mel Shacklock, Mark and Super Mel, John and Tom King all on 1 point. Lorna, Radcliffe Stag, Mr. Tickle on 2 points. Oliver 425, Tara 3 points. Addison Crump 4 points. Luke Bramwell 4 points. Watson Wanderers 4 points. Jim Evans, 4 points. Gabby A, 5 points, as is Craig Pateman and Joe. Liam Smith and Nick Welsh on 6. Matt Green, not that one, 7, with Darren Wood also on 7. Joe Dalman then on 9. Then we move into double figures with Keeley of her game 2. Paul Broomhead also on 10. Roger King on 11. Nathan Edge on 12. Kiwi Stag on 13. Proud Stags on 14. Simon Wilson, Kathy Holmes, Chris Ellison all on 15. Marie Wilson and Sarah also on 16 apiece. Moving up to 17, David Shetlife, Mark Lapko, Tim Phillips, Sam Pateman on 18, as am I, and Craig Foster on 19 with Taxi Pete. Cam on 20, Richard Spencer on 20, Adam Crump on 20, Nick of Mansfield Town Shirts fame also on 20, Mitchell the American on 21, Stephen Pound on 22, and that's where we're going to enter the top 10. Who is going to be in the top 10? Well, Stephen Pound, Steve Yull and Alan of Alan Wilson fame, 22 points. In joint 9th, JS, Craig Vincent, Ashley Mutter on 23. In 8th, joint 8th, Stag and Will Pound on 24. In 7th, it's Clive on 25. Mrs. Crump in 6th on 27. Stags Chat in 5th on 28. And then the top 4. Ben Swain on 3. Steve Nadin, 34. Fathead on 35. And Cam, your daddy's leading the way on 37 points at the top of the podcast predictions table. So Nick Felton leads the way again for podcast predictions at the end of October. I can't wait now for Cam's phone to absolutely go off and get abuse from your dad. Cam, how are you feeling about your dad leading the way? No words. No words. Nick, pleased with your performance so far?
Yeah, I was leading our little group for a bit, but then I went pessimistic and it fell down because Clive just backs us to win every game. So, I think he predicts after the game. I think that's the way he's winning. I think he does it after the match.
Slightly.
You what?
I didn't do a prediction for the Barrow game.
Well, that's your own fault. You know where the is. You know what to do. If you don't do it on the podcast, you have to do it via the link. Jim, even though you've played it, are you pleased with your score?
No, I can't. We've got 4 points.
Yeah. Mate, there's still a long, long way to go. Who knows what might happen as podcast predictions continue throughout the season. Like Nigel Clough says, we're only a month or so in, so the next game is just around the corner. It is, of course, Gillingham away, but for now, let's say well done to Nick Felton, leading the way at the top on 37 points.
Who's that winning? Craig? Could you just repeat that? I didn't quite catch who winning. Sorry.
Right, let's attention.
Sorry, Cam.
Today's
got some sound bites for you.
Cam, come on, stop sulking. Give me a prediction.
2-1 win. Flint man at match.
Nick, you're up next.
I'm going to go a 1-1 draw, Bowery man of the match.
Jim, you're up next for me.
0-0. Lewis Reed.
And I am also going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Man of the match, I'm going to go with Lewis Brunt. I'm going to go for man of the match. I think he might get himself a little goal as well from a set piece. As always, if you want to play along with podcast predictions, you can do so via the link in the description. Ross in the comments is saying that we're going to go for a 2-1 win. If you want it to count and you want to play the game, Cam, what do you need to do?
Ask his dad.
You've got to get your podcast predictions in an hour and 1 minute before kickoff on Saturday using the link.
Using the link that's in the description. Stags Chat says they're happy with 5th place. We'll wait and see how we are at the end of next month. Jim, we're going to give you the final word. What are you expecting in terms of performance from Gillingham away on Saturday. Can the unbeaten run continue?
Well, I think get ready for a flat performance at some time this week, whether it's Gillingham or Wrexham or Wimbledon. I think there's going to be a flat performance coming because of the amount of games in so many days. But I don't think it'll be Saturday. I think we're going to get at least a point. I think, as I say, I don't think we'll lose. And I'll just say, I've given Clough his criticism. It's one of the most resilient Mansfield Town teams I've seen for many a year, and I think that has to be a credit to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, what are you expecting from us performance-wise? At the very top of the show, Simon said, "Evening, Craig. Are you still sticking with your bold statement from last week? Now we've overcome Barrow and Peterborough." P.S. My wife says hello. Well, my lawyers say keep away from me. In terms of my bold prediction from last week, Nick, I said if we could go 3 unbeaten, we'll get automatic promotion. 1 game away from it. Are you expecting a better performance from Barrow, or we're going to be riled up from the cup? What we're going to do? How do you think we're going to do? What do you think my statement will come true? Is what I'm asking.
Oh, I think it'll be a battle. I don't think we'll lose. I think it'll be a battle. I just think it's a tough place to go, and everyone's fighting at the top. I mean, the worrying thing is if you do lose, you could actually be in about 13th, which is slightly worrying in this league at the minute. So I wouldn't look too much at where we are in the table. But yeah, it's going to be a battle massively, but I think it'll be quite a flat game because I agree with Jim a little bit. I think there's a lot of games in a short space of time, and we can't be at 100% for all of them. I'd much prefer us to be 100% under the lights on Tuesday night and just battle for a draw on the road on Saturday. But yeah, if we stay unbeaten for automatics it's got to be a target, hasn't it? It's got to be.
Speaking of Tuesday night, Nick, you can go first again. Podcast predictions, please, for Wrexham on Tuesday under the lights as Hollywood comes to town.
I am going to go for 3-1 Stags.
And your man of the match?
Very rare to do for me. You got to put me on the spot. Keeler Dunn.
Excellent. Cam, you're up next.
I hate to be a copycat, but I want to say 3-1 and Keeler Dunn. I think we'll win, but Keeler Dunn will have something because he used to play for Wrexham.
You've said it now. Now, Jim, are you going to get a full house of 3-1s DKDs?
I think we'll definitely beat them. I don't think they're that particularly brilliant. I think I wanted to say DK, yeah, but I think it'd be 2-1.
Okay, 2-1 DKD. You going? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to complete the set. I'm going to go bold. I'm saying 5-2, and man of the match, I'm going to go with George Maris. They've scored 20 but conceded 20. I was on one of the many Wrexham podcasts, the Rob Ryan Red one, yesterday as last-minute guest, and they were sort of saying that they are leaking a lot of goals. So I'm going 5-2, open game, really good night. Cam, question for you. Does Cam need my advice on how to predict scores?
No. But do you want to know something?
You know what? There's a music. I'm trying to hit.
Do you know what P doesn't stand for? Pessimistic Craig.
It doesn't. Not yet. It's going to come. It's going to come on one of these days. Jim, thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to let you go. I'm going to say goodbye to Nick and Cam as well. A reminder, if you want to get involved with podcast predictions, the link that you need to do so, it's in the description. We've not put the Wrexham game on there yet. I'll do that on Sunday because we do it month by month. But that will be on there. Get your predictions in. And, keep playing along with the guessing game. That brings you 0 fame. A big well done to Nick, who's top of the podcast predictions table on 37 points. Absolutely smashing Cam out of the water. 17 points ahead of him at this stage. Maybe you should take your father's advice at some point, because all of our fathers at one point would have said, "Son, come with me to a place called Field Mill. You'll absolutely love it." And for a long time we said, no. But right now, it's the place to be. Well, that's all we've got time for on tonight's Mansfield Matters podcast. My thanks as ever to the Mansfield Matters podcast panel and to you guys at home for watching and for listening. Join us again next week as we reflect on a trip to Gillingham and a home tie against the documentary Hollywood team. No, Wrexham. No, the documentary Hollywood team. Or is it Wrexham? Who knows? Who cares? The only thing that matters is, what does P stand for? Is it points? Is it practice? Is it patience? Is it persistence? I think it's prizes. Points make prizes. So let's keep them coming. Let's keep those points coming. And at the end of the season, have the biggest prize of them all. Yes, get ready for another P. Promotion. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast. And we will see you next week. Thanks for listening. Good night.